Good evening and welcome to yet another exciting episode of A Cuppa with Nomcebo. I hope you had a wonderful, safe weekend where you had lots and lots of fun because there's quite a number of activities taking place in the kingdom of Eswatini. You know how we do it every Monday at 6:30. We get into nice, lovely, inspirational conversations with the guests that we have on the show. And today is no different. I have a very beautiful lady sitting next to me. Very artistic, beautiful lady, I must say. Her name is Phephile Sibanyoni, who will be sharing the next half an hour with me, having a cuppa and just talking about her journey, as an artist. Peppy, thank you so much for joining me on a cuppa with Nomcebo.
Thank you for having me, Nomcebo.
You look, I'm good. You look
I'm
great.
good. Thank you.
You look
I really
inspirational.
appreciate.
I just really love all the colors. You're turning this Monday into a beautiful Monday. They normally say, it's a blue Monday, but no, not on the show today. You're bringing in all the positive energy.
Thank you.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Remember, I told you that I want to have you on the show.
You did.
Because
you
there's
did.
so much to learn from you. But quickly, before we just get into our conversation, just let the public know, because I know that you're a professional photographer, a well-traveled photographer. You are also a content creator. Just share more with what all the activities that you get up to.
I'm a storyteller more than anything.
Right.
Photography, I feel like it's a limitation. I see myself as a storyteller, but I tell my stories through images.
Right.
Yes, and I'm a writer. Yes, I'm a creative. I'm an all-round creative, basically.
Right.
But my main focal point at this moment is storytelling through photography and writing.
And when did you discover this passion, and when did you really start exploring that side of you?
It's been a journey, because I always lived upon what was given to me. That is family expectations and being told what to do. And if you cannot do this, you will not become what you actually expected to become, or what you have to become. I took a gap year. I started with e-commerce, basically. I studied e-commerce and internet marketing at a university in Europe, in the UK to be precise. It was a part-time thing, because I was working part-time and studying part-time. But I ended up taking a gap year on that and just realizing what exactly it is that I need to do, because I'm in this digital space, which has got like 50 computers. You walk into the space, you hardly know the person next to you, because everything is digitalized. That's when digital marketing was actually introduced at the time, and that was around 2004, 2003, 2004. And I was like, this is not who I am. There's something bigger. I know I'm an expressionist. I'm not an introvert. This is actually programming us to be in this introversion format of life. And I just kept on working, doing 2 jobs, still trying to figure it out, up until I realized that I think my passion is with photography. And I started with a certificate course, and that was in an institution, Basingstoke College in South England. And from there, I saw myself shaping up, because there was a year of studies on the certificate course, and then I enrolled with the Photography Institute. That was a 4-year, 3-year, basically, 4th with my certificate.
Right.
So it's been quite an interesting and amazing journey. But I found out that fine art is quite more interesting, and it's broad compared to just being an ordinary studio photographer or street photography. Fine art photography, it allows you not only to engage with individuals, but it also engage with who you are personally and internally. How to actually unleash and sprout different creativities, around that certain subject or around that.
You speak, and I feel that energy, talking about the fine arts, the expressiveness, of that particular craft, because it's all about, expressing yourself, your inner self first, before the outer self. And that's just creative art, just right there, And I really value, what you're sharing, because many of us, as you say, family, they want to structure We
Yeah.
want to structure our children
Exactly.
because of the everyday current systems. We structure our children like, look, you're going to go to school, wake up, you go to school, you finish high school, has to be university. After university, you go find that fancy job
Yeah.
or go into business.
Yeah.
Do you think that actually gives a person an opportunity or a window to be who they are? What would be the best thing, for that would just make our children, blossom, and not be that stereotypical, step that we are used to?
For instance, it starts when they're still younger. I'll put it on the artistic side of things. You see a child holding a pen or a paper, writing on walls. That's expression, right?
And we spank them.
And you spank. And you punish and don't do.
Yes.
You've already started
Clean it up.
to clean it up. Not even trying to understand what were you trying to do. What did you want to do? Let's take a pen. Let's take a piece of paper. Let's have this pencil. This is where you're gonna do it. Instead of just spanking and stopping and punishing and isolating. What do they call that? What do you call that room? Naughty room or naughty corner.
Yes.
Instead of doing all those things, why don't you try and figure it out? Why has he or how has he started doing it? And why, how,
Right.
and when? And how do we learn it from here now that this person has got, or this child has got this tendency of doing it, instead of just spanking, beating up, naughty corner. You actually instilling fear on the child from himself or from herself to express who they are. Already that's a limitation. So for instance, like a left-handed child, we've got parents who will be like, here at home, no left-handedness. You can't give me with the left hand. Obviously, that's respect. You can't write with the left hand because it's a taboo. You've already limited the child or him or her from expressing who they. It's just those small things that gather into becoming something that will influence negatively on the upbringing of a child from that younger stage into adulthood, because it does stick. Instead of doing that, just allow the child to express himself or herself in every way, but through proper guidance.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. You've traveled quite extensively with
Yes.
your work. A couple of countries, but more especially, I just want to bring in the Kenya trip that you took.
Yeah.
And I think that was a life-changing experience for you. I know that you went to Kenya and you were following in a certain indigenous group.
Yes.
Can you just tell us more about that experience?
That happened in 2015. It was my first trip to East Africa. And I had saved quite a lot because I've been aesthetic and curious about what's happening on the Maasai tribe, you know. I've had a couple of friends that had said they knew who they were, they've had an interaction and whatsoever, especially those from East Africa. But I needed the authenticity side of it. And I remember it was around November when I started this expedition. It was alone because it was a personal quest as well, out of curiosity. I traveled obviously from Eswatini, back then it was Swaziland, to OR, had my everything was properly planned, you know. I arrived in Nairobi, quite a fascinating place because it's busy, you know, everything is colorful, there's loud music, and it was an amazing experience. Following day, got a tour guide, saw some friends that I had met in other places, had to catch up with them in Nairobi, drove to, what's this place? It's a Dalek. I think we drove for 12 hours from from Nairobi on our way to Masai Mara, but we stopped in Dalek, met a friend of mine I was with in Cape Town, was a pastor there in in Dalek before reaching Masai Mara. had lunch. That's when we got an explanation. I'm sorry, but even the Maasai's there, they are classified. Would actually come into that particular place and they'll be like, those are not the real ones. You will see the real ones, the indigenous ones, the authentic ones, the organic ones.
Wow.
You'll be excited with your camera. Oh, this is what they'll be like, hang on, this is not the real, these are not the real ones. They already consumed, they've already been in the mix with modernization and everything. You need to go see the authentic ones who live this lifestyle, indigenous lifestyle, on a daily basis. So the drive there, because we spent a night in Dalek, that was, a 12 hours drive, spent like, with my driver, we spent a night, woke up the following day. That was another drive to the Masai Mara. I think that drive was also like 13 hours to just get there. It was a village. They speak very different, unique language. They sound like goats when they speak. They use a lot of their throat. They live in houses called the manyatas. They built very tiny, small windows. They called, what is this name? But I'll get back to it. But they like igloos, you know, the Eskimo igloos. Yet they just have small holes, you know, and the openings, the doors, you just need to actually lower your back in order to get inside. Everything is just raw, it's organic, it's mud. They are mud houses, mud huts. They've got loads of livestock, and they believe in livestock a lot, basically, because their pride is based on their livestock and how the amount of livestock you own, the more wealthier and the more richer you become. So spent like a month with them.
And what was that experience like? You know, there's the language barrier, the lifestyle barrier.
Yes.
Yeah. Sure.
Getting there, you offered, I have it in my place actually, a calabash. But that calabash has got blood and the other one has got milk. So before everything else, as appreciation, as some sort of welcome, you offered that calabash of blood. You need to drink that blood, obviously. It's actually drawn from their livestock, the cows. It just put holes there, fresh blood to them. It's a delicacy. You know? So yes, it was quite intense. It was, and then back to the milk in order to wash the blood off, you know. They into vegetable food. They eat the meat, basically. They've got Fulani cows, and that's their pride, you know. So they slaughter on special occasions. So they are mostly vegetarians, and the blood diet and the milk diet.
You were there for a month.
Yes.
Take me through, you know, a day, you know, a typical 24 hours, you know, living there. You know, for that whole month, what was that like?
It
From
was
your typical morning to your afternoons to the night.
You know, funny enough, because it was around, it wasn't. I expected it to be very, very hot, but it was quite humid compared to Nairobi.
Right.
Yeah, it was quite humid. You would wake up around. Oh, the hut is called the manyata. I remember it's called the manyata. I was given a manyata to share with non-married girls. So we used to spend, we're like 8 of us in the manyata. You'd wake up the following day. Obviously, I was a visitor. There's this language barrier, but you could feel the souls, the communication amongst us, you know. You offered, obviously, blood again for breakfast. And and the
hectic.
it's part of.
You ended up.
I've forgotten the name, but it's I do have those 2 calabashes. I was like, I'm not gonna leave these calabashes because this one I use the whole month. It's still the blood and the milk, you know, sometimes sour milk and vegetables, you know, ground vegetables.
Right.
They've got cassava and all the other legumes and beans.
Right.
But most of their vegetables, they are because of the weather. I think they've been complaining more on the climate. So they haven't been getting much rain. So their vegetables were pretty much dry. And so what we're actually having mostly is just those dry vegetables, cassava, which is the main.
Yes.
And then we'd have the blood.
Right.
And that's their delicacy to them.
Right.
And then the milk.
What was the best experience you had, within the month, that 1 month? Your best experience?
I enjoyed the trails, to be honest. I enjoyed, because I spent time with almost everybody doing all my research.
Right.
I enjoyed the trails mostly with the men, because there'll be a lot of walking trails. Yet at the same time, I was told that the trails that we were taking, it's not the same as it was before, because they had a lot of restrictions.
Right.
And most of those ones who were masters on all these trails, they'd actually be asleep during the day, but they're now waking up at night. It's another story based on what's happening there, based on the changes of climate and the local government trying to give them all these rules and laws and regulations and penalties because of the number of livestock that they have. So we're going to discuss that later. But that's what I enjoyed mostly. It was the walking trails, you know, interacting with livestock. Not only livestock, but the wild animals.
Right.
You actually see them being in control of that whole territory. And wild animals, they're used to them in such a way that they do not attack them during the day because they are a part of them. But they've been attacked recently of late because of all these restrictions that were actually
sometimes
given to them
civilization
by
can
civilization
really
can actually
things.
do that.
I'm going to stop you there. We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more with Phephile about her experiences through living out her artistic lifestyle. We'll be right back. If you've just joined us, you're watching A Cuppa with Nomcebo, and I am in conversation with the spiritual, beautiful African soul sharing this couch with me, or rather this beautiful set, and we're talking about your travels, Phephile. You've traveled quite extensively, and your expedition to Kenya, that's what we were talking about.
Yes.
And you were just sharing about, your best experience was, the trails.
Yeah.
And interacting, with the wild animals.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what other event, excited you while in Kenya?
Basically, it was just learning to understand the authenticity and the background of who the Maasai people were,
Right.
their culture, their identity, their oral traditions, and to learn more basically about them. And the fascinating part, it was, as I was talking about the trails, and I'd spend also time with the women. They do a lot of beadwork.
Nice.
That's what they usually do.
Yeah.
On the it's just the beadwork.
Right.
They focus on the beadwork and cooking. They don't cook much though, because they believe in dried food.
Right.
Maybe they'll be cooking cassava, but everything else, it's dried vegetables, dried roots, and they're very herbal at the same time.
Then they've got so much livestock.
They've got so much livestock,
So
they
but
do not touch.
They do not
They
touch.
do not
They
slaughter.
don't
They just
go
slaughter on special occasions.
Only on special occasions.
Exactly.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm going to take you to another conversation. I remember one time we had a conversation with you in one of our spots,
Yeah.
and you shared one experience where at COVID, during COVID,
Yes.
I think you were, was it in Kenya, where you found yourself stuck
At the
and you
airport.
couldn't come back home?
For 2 weeks.
Tell us about that, because that was quite an experience, a very humbling experience, if I must say.
Yes, that was when I was from Abu Dhabi. I was in Cape Town working there as a journalist, as a newspaper journalist,
Right.
photojournalist to be precise. I worked there for a couple of years, and then I got an opportunity to travel to Abu Dhabi. A friend of mine had hooked me up with a gallery on storytelling-wise and exhibiting my images that I've taken over the years. You know, everything was coming up okay up until COVID came.
Yeah.
So that sport, where everything had to take place, it had to shut down because of COVID, and had to think quick, like, what do I do? What do I do?
Yeah.
Tickets, everything else. Then I had to go back home, come
Yeah.
back home, basically. But there was a case, a COVID case at the airport in Jomo Kenyatta, so we couldn't move for 2 weeks.
My goodness.
The trauma, it was beyond, you know. I had people that I knew, but there were restrictions. So that you're not allowed to come unless you've got a pass, and they were pretty much far from Nairobi. But I ended up finding myself, in order to raise more funds, to survive.
In a foreign country.
In a foreign country for 2 weeks.
And it's scary. It's a scary period. COVID was
and it's so frustrating.
frightening.
It's so frustrating being in an app. Fine, but they were quite. They did help us a lot. We did get meals, but you do need something to actually consume other than the main meals that you're being offered, breakfast, lunch, and supper. You need to take care of yourself as well. You need those nitty-gritties there in that petty cash. So instead of sitting there being bored, because, you know, funny enough, I couldn't even document the whole scenario of what, because there was that huge depression inside of me that I could not even relate to the next person.
Yeah.
I felt like at some point maybe this is the end of the world. What is happening? Everything just flipped within.
Yeah.
Everything flipped. It was a change just came in a spark.
Yeah.
So everything just downed inside of me, like, what is going on? Let me try and figure it out. But I could see that, damn, it's been 4 days and I'm stuck and I'm losing. I can't buy chocolates anymore. I can't do. So how do I do it? I ended up washing cars at the airport. You know, just to survive.
Yeah.
You know, but I did it.
And you know, you're washing cars because you need to survive.
I need
and
to
just
survive.
keep your mind busy.
Keep my mind busy for sanity, for the sake of sanity, because I'd see people losing it.
Right.
I'd see people being depressed. I'd see people being but I needed distraction.
So distraction. Everyone was stuck at the airport.
Yes.
So it was 2 weeks stationed at the airport.
Yeah.
What an experience. What did you get out of that experience?
Patience. And you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just appreciate everything around you at that point in time, and love and appreciate and embrace every moment, basically, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
It's a very strong woman.
Yeah.
And then we're going to then come to the most recent, you know, unfortunate incident, you know, that you went through. You were involved in a car accident that affected you physically and mentally. Please take us back to that dark hour.
Yeah, coming back home, it's been a journey, you know, coming back home from this whole Abu Dhabi experience and the airport. I settled in Joburg for like a year. I had a few galleries where I had my work showcased, but it wasn't easy. You remember it was COVID. And in the arts, it's very difficult to buy an art piece, especially to an upcoming, you know, individual,
artist,
without having a personal interaction and a physical, you know, presence. So virtual sales were not actually working for most of us, especially us upcoming ones. So they say, so they call us. So I tried. I had galleries that I was registered with.
No, you
but
did. I just want to quickly rush you to this particular part of the interview, you know, the car accident. I really wanted to talk about
we're still getting there.
Because we're running out of time.
So I came back. Then I'm like, okay, I've got something to do, because I had already started creating shirts with my storytelling images, basically. I ended up creating fabric. So I had a collection that I had to maybe showcase. And I had a few creatives that I had to dress up for the festival, Bushfire Festival. And they had agreed, everything was sorted. Now I've got my collection to showcase. I'm dressing up so and so and so and so, excited as I was, but I couldn't, and maybe take a few images there and there of those wearing my products, my items, you know. After the whole scenario, now I'm like, okay, I'm getting there, I'm coming up,
Yeah.
okay. I've got my items that I just showcase and take it from there like an introduction, but I ended up not reaching because I got a car accident at Malakwane on my way to
Yeah, to
to
Bush Farm.
fulfill my dream.
Yes.
But it was quite enlightening, and it was a twist of events because I went back to the drawing board and I realized that what actually happened was pushing me to unleash something and finalize what has been left, or something that I've been shelving for the longest time.
Yeah.
And that was my book on the African tribes that I've been working on. So I
Right.
focused more on the writing of the book. It was edited by a very good friend of mine, an editor, Megan Moore from Cape Town. I also incorporated, I collaborated with a lot of creatives who interpreted my artistic skills and works on poetry,
Right.
on arts, collaborations and everything. It's called The Last Defenders. It's a first edition. It's been completed.
Okay, and if
And
someone wants a copy of the book, where can they go?
I've got my online shop that I'll share
Okay,
with you.
great.
Yes,
You
it's
know
there.
what? The conversation has been really, really inspiring. It's mind-boggling, and you know, it's just so life-changing. And that's exactly why we do this show, a Cuppa with Nomcebo. It's
Yeah.
finding people like you with such incredible, beautiful stories.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, we have run out of time,
Thank
but I
you.
know that Miss Baby's going to come back because the conversation is not over, you know, and just talk more, because I feel she has a lot to share with Emma Swati, with such her beautiful journeys and her beautiful art. Thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Thank
I
you.
wish you all the best, and may the Lord continue to use you in your own way and bless you tenfold and tenfolds. Eswatini, thank you for watching
Thank
A Cuppa
you.
with Nomcebo. Good night.
Good night.